It was supposed to be an ordinary ride, a quick trip through the back roads to get from my college town to my hometown, just a couple of hours away. I'd taken the route dozens of times before, but this time was different. I didn't know it then, but this ride would change my life forever. I was in my second year of college and had been running myself ragged with assignments, midterms, and the pressure of making a good impression. It had been weeks since I'd visited home, and with the weekend approaching, I figured it was the perfect time to take a break and spend a couple of days with my family. I packed my bag, grabbed some snacks for the road, and hopped into my beat-up car. The familiar hum of the engine was comforting, like the car itself was welcoming me back home. It was just before sunset when I left campus, and the sky was painted in shades of pink and orange. The air had a crisp chill to it, and the roads were mostly empty, save for the occasional truck or car passing by. The drive was peaceful, and I couldn't help but let my mind wander. I had been looking forward to getting away from the stresses of school and just spending some quiet time at home. The first hour or so of the drive went smoothly. The radio played softly in the background, and I found myself enjoying the solitude. I was alone, but it was the kind of alone that felt comforting, not lonely. The road stretched out in front of me, winding through dense forests and small, sleepy towns. Everything felt normal. But then I noticed something strange. A car appeared in my rearview mirror. It was an old sedan, maybe a few years older than mine. It was close enough behind me that I could see the headlights glowing, but it didn't seem to be overtaking me. For a while, it just followed me at a steady pace, never changing its distance. I thought nothing of it at first. After all, it was a dark, empty road, and cars sometimes just fall into sync like that. But then, the car started to act odd. It began to speed up, then slow down, then speed up again, as if the driver couldn't make up their mind. I found myself getting a little uneasy. I didn't think much of it at first, but the behavior of the car was starting to make me nervous. It felt like I was being followed, but I didn't know why or by who. I decided to pull off at a rest area to take a quick break, thinking I'd put some distance between myself and the car. I parked near the edge of the lot, far away from the few other cars that were there, and sat in my car for a moment, checking my phone. It was getting late, and I felt a strange unease in the pit of my stomach. I glanced around the parking lot, but the other cars seemed empty. I took a deep breath, convinced that I was just overthinking things. Then, I saw the sedan pull into the lot. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, that maybe the driver was also taking a break. But then, the car parked right next to mine, despite the fact that there were plenty of other empty spaces. I sat still in my car, watching through the window as the driver got out. It was a man, tall, wearing a dark coat. He looked around, scanning the area before walking toward the restrooms without so much as a glance in my direction. I tried to shake off the feeling of discomfort and decided to stretch my legs, maybe grab a snack. As I stepped out of the car, I felt the cold wind hit my face, and I noticed the man's car still idling, the headlights casting a long shadow across the pavement. I didn't think much of it, but there was something about his presence that felt off. I headed toward the restrooms, glancing over my shoulder once or twice, just to make sure the man wasn't following me. I entered the restroom and washed my hands, trying to calm my nerves. But as I looked at myself in the mirror, I felt a chill run down my spine. I had this strange, overwhelming sense that I wasn't alone. I turned around quickly, expecting to see the man standing right behind me, but there was no one there. I let out a breath of relief, trying to convince myself that it was just my imagination getting the best of me. But as I walked out of the restroom, I noticed the man was standing near my car, just staring at it. He wasn't doing anything else, just watching the car with a blank expression on his face. I didn't know what to do. I felt paralyzed, unsure of whether I should confront him or just leave. I decided to get in my car and drive away. As I walked back toward the car, I noticed that the man's gaze was fixed on me now. His eyes were wide open, unblinking, and filled with something I couldn't quite place. I quickly got into my car, locked the doors, and started the engine. I didn't even look back at the man as I pulled out of the parking lot and back onto the road. I drove quickly, my heart racing, the unease still gnawing at me. The sun had set completely by this point, and the road ahead was bathed in the cold glow of the headlights. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I tried to convince myself that I was being paranoid, that it was just a coincidence, but I couldn't rid myself of the lingering dread. Then, as I turned a bend in the road, I saw something that stopped my heart. The sedan was ahead of me, parked on the side of the road. The headlights were off, but the car was still there, as if waiting for me. I had no idea how it had gotten ahead of me, but I was certain it was the same car. My stomach twisted in knots as I slowed down, my eyes glued to the figure standing next to it. It was the same man. But this time, he wasn't just standing there. He was staring directly at me, his face illuminated by the faint glow of the dashboard lights. I didn't stop. I didn't even slow down. I pressed my foot to the gas pedal and sped past him, my heart pounding in my chest. The car behind me stayed at a distance, but I could feel it. I could feel the presence, like it was closing in on me. It was then that I heard it, the sound of something tapping against my window. It was faint at first, but as the tapping grew louder, I couldn't ignore it any longer. I dared not look, but I knew someone was there, right outside my window. I was terrified, but I didn't want to know who it was. I just wanted to get away. I could hear the tapping grow louder and louder, and my breath came in ragged gasps. I didn't dare look at the rearview mirror to see if the sedan was still there. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I reached a small town. I pulled into a gas station, nearly out of breath, and parked next to the pumps. The noise stopped. The tapping, the car, everything. I sat in the car, hands shaking, too afraid to move. The gas station attendant gave me a strange look as I walked inside to pay for gas. I didn't care. I just needed to get back on the road. When I stepped outside, I checked the parking lot. The sedan was gone. There was no sign of the man. It was like he had vanished into thin air. But even now, I can't escape the feeling that I was being followed. The tapping, the car, the man. None of it made sense. I don't know who he was, but I don't think I ever want to know. Since that night, I've never taken that route again. And every time I'm alone on a dark road, I can't help but feel like someone is watching me from the shadows. And sometimes, late at night, I hear tapping on my window.